We wanted to release a bonus episode looking at the inner workings of Laura Lynne Jackson's family, her 3 children, and her husband. Originally, this was going to be a section in episode 2 of season 2, but it was so dense and beautiful that we wanted to make it a specific episode. It gives such wonderful and rich insight into what it's like to be married to or raised by a world class famous medium, and hopefully it humanizes and demystifies those with the gift even further. When investigating something as mysterious and as contested as mediumship, you have to hold 2 truths at once: the science and the lived experience. Without both, you're only seeing half the picture. Laura has passed rigorous double blind tests. She's astonished researchers and brought comfort to strangers. But she's also a mother and a former English teacher and a human being moving through the world like the rest of us. And that matters maybe most, because history has painted mediums as saints, charlatans, prophets, and frauds, sometimes in the same breath. And to really understand the work, you have to humanize the life between the readings. So I went to the people who know Laura best, her family.
Laura and I met when I was in law school. At the time we met, it was just completely different.
This is Laura's husband, Garrett.
Laura was a teacher. She'd been teaching for just a few years. She mentioned early on that she had these abilities, but she wasn't actively reading. It wasn't a part of her normal daily routine. So I knew that going into it, but all through dating and the first few years of our marriage really had nothing to do with mediumship and connections to the other side.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that surprises people most about Laura and our family is that we are just incredibly normal. Like, we're just an average American family. We rarely walk around discussing mediumship and spirituality. It really doesn't come up all that much.
And Garrett, I love that you're a lawyer because, it feels like the furthest profession from a medium. And I'm just curious as to some of your personal conversations with Laura. Is there any advice that you've given to her or vice versa that comes to mind?
I have to remind Laura this from time to time, is that there's always going to be a hardcore percentage of the population that is just not going to be able to wrap their minds around this. They're not going to believe it. They're always going to view it as woo-woo, is fraudulent. And unfortunately, the world of mediumship, I mean, let's face it, throughout history, it's had a pretty sketchy reputation. And I think for good reason. I think it's been abused and exploited by people through the centuries to take advantage of people. Having said that, though, that's not to say that the phenomenon itself isn't legitimate, because it very much is.
And how do Laura and Garrett's children, Hayden, Juliet, and Ashley, feel about growing up with a mom who's a medium?
My name's Hayden. I'm 18 years old, and I am the middle child in the family. I really grew up with a very unique perspective, I feel like, where I was always very open to this whole world that most people don't really perceive or often ignore. Throughout my life, with my close friends, I've always shared really what my mom's done and some of my experiences. And usually over time, they learn about it more, and they learn to kind of see what I'm talking about and kind of understand the kind of ideas I'm talking about. So I have found success throughout my life explaining these concepts and notions to people around me. It's just something most people, when they first hear about it, they're just kind of confused. Like, how can this be real? How can your mom, have this career where she does this?
My name is Juliet Jackson. I am 16 years old and I am a junior in high school. A lot of my life, I've felt more comforted in the concepts of this interconnectedness and light than I am afraid of it. So a lot of that has just come up and been raised around my household in a concept of just support and love more than anything. It's made my reality something that feels more filled with love than I can ever fully explain to other people. Because having her as my mother has created a relationship not only with myself, but with the interconnectedness of all of us and the world beyond us, that nothing is ever truly gone. It's just opened me up so much more as a person, and being able to empathize with other people and understand them and understand their viewpoints. Having her as my mother, it is so beyond unique and beautiful. It's also allowed me to push forward this concept that we all are united.
I'm her oldest child. I'm 24 years old.
This is Ashley Jackson, Laura's oldest, and Hayden and Juliet's big sister.
My family is pretty normal in all terms, except that there are these abilities in our family. And I guess for my entire family, at least me and my siblings, it's just been the way we grew up. And we all kind of were like, okay, that's just the way it is. But everyone's very open and talkative, and it's fun. Growing up, It was just very normal to me because she always had that. And, she used to be a teacher, but would also do readings and everything. So I didn't know it wasn't common or normal or these things. And since I was like a kid, I guess I was in tune with that. So I would pick up on people's energy, like whether we went to the store or anywhere, and I could kind of like pick up on whatever mood they're in or what they're going through. And it adds, I think, this cool layer to, have like shared kind of abilities and be able to talk about that stuff. But sometimes, especially with me and my mom, we're very tuned into each other's energy. And even though if I, am not here at the house, we can kind of feel each other's energy sometimes, and it can be intense, but it's good.
Garrett, Laura, and the kids all insist that their home is just like any other home. Or, like Ashley explained, growing up as kids, you don't know what's normal or uncommon for a family. It's just your family. I actually experienced that firsthand when I started working on this project about 4 years ago, when I overheard my daughter playing Barbie with her friends. They were explaining each Barbie's profile. One was a dentist, and one was a teacher, and one was a non speaker who was telepathic. Her friends looked at her like she was crazy, saying, "What's a non speaker who's telepathic?" And my daughter said, "Oh, it's someone who can't speak, but they can communicate with their minds." And I loved how quickly they all just rolled with it. But all of Laura's kids acknowledge that growing up with a mom who's a medium has opened them up to recognizing what's behind the veil of mortality.
And do your friends and the people in your life know about your mom's gifts? Is that something that most people know about? And how do people receive it?
It is a thing almost everybody knows about at this point.
Here's Juliet and Hayden.
It's something I'm very open about because I feel very passionate about it. Like within a school situation and ecosphere, my entire school knows about it. She's very well known throughout the community. And it's something I really enjoy talking about and I'm very passionate about within my friends and within my community around me.
Oftentimes people like make jokes about it, be like, "Oh, it's a scam," but usually when I explain some of these experiences to people, they tend to open up to it for the most time. And at the same time, like if people aren't opening up to it, that's their choice. I feel like I'm here to kind of explain these experiences and the things I've like, dealt with in my life and the ways it's affected my life. But sometimes it's just hard to kind of convince people. But what I do try to do is I'll tell people, open up to this, try it yourself. And a lot of times I've seen, friends asking for signs, things along those lines. They're actually able to pick up on it as well. And it's really changed their perspective.
I was curious after listening to Hayden, Juliet, and Ashley describe their connection with their mother and their connection with their intuition. Do they have her gift too?
As far as your kids, like, do any of them seem to have the gift, or do you know if anyone above Laura, like grandmas or aunts, had the gift, if you will? Like, do you think it runs in families?
I do, and I think it runs fairly. It seems to be her mom's side of the family. Both her aunt has it to a degree. Her mother has it to a degree.
Here's Garrett, Laura's husband.
I've seen her brother be pretty accurate in a kind of a scary way, in a good way, but just really uh, pretty wild to see. He doesn't do it often, but he'll do it a bit here and there. It's just it's wild. My kids display it to a degree, but nobody has it the way Laura has it. You know what I mean? It's just a true, profound gift. But as Laura says all the time, we all have this ability to some degree, and it comes out in different ways. But we all have the capacity to be intuitive.
I think everyone has the capacity to be able to become in tune and become more in tune.
And here's Ashley, Laura and Garrett's oldest.
Some people are maybe born with a higher percentage of that perception. It's like if there's a radio dial for volume, maybe some people are just born with it a little more turned up, or they're born more sensitive. I've done readings for people a lot of the time. I'd base it off of like tarot cards, but when I would do it, I wouldn't go like just based off what the card said. I'd almost use it like a tool to what I call like tap into the energy. And it's almost like I could see kind of like a screen in my head and get information, but it's information that I'm not getting from myself. It's not like I'm coming to some kind of logical conclusion. It was almost like a thought or information like planted in my head. Some of the readings I did, like there was really specific information for people that came through, or like stuff that was going to happen, very specific, and it did end up happening.
From what Laura's family has described, maybe it's both nature and nurture that has opened their hearts and minds to receiving information that may have opened up their natural born gifts. And yes, they could be born with this ability, and there could be a genetic element to it. We will do a deep dive on that in a future Talk Tracks episode.
I think all my sisters certainly do in a way. I can't speak for all of them specifically, but I can definitely speak in my own experiences and the very interesting things that I've experienced firsthand.
Here's Hayden explaining his connection to his intuition.
I'm able to kind of use my intuition and my a screen. Like my mom always describes the screen she has in which she's able to conduct mediumship. I do have that screen and I'm able to use it and visualize things and sometimes receive messages and information.
That's so cool. So you have the same screen but like it'll be more psychic images coming in, not medium. So like will it be like names of things or like feelings, or what does it look like for
It
you?
can be a lot of things depending on what the circumstance is. Sometimes it could be phrases, sometimes it could be images. I've had profound experiences in dreams before that have come true in real life. Just these undeniable things. I feel in some way I am able to perceive energy and kind of tap into a collective consciousness in which I'm able to kind of sense the turning tides of the world. There's been times where I felt like really really tense about something, and then right after a large event happened. It happened with COVID. It
Mm.
happened with the Ukrainian war. It happened on October 7th. I've just had a strange ability to kind of be able to pick up on certain things before they happen. And I really attribute that to growing up around this and growing up with my mom kind of teaching me how to be open to all of these things. It's a hard thing to understand because it can sound really out there sometimes, but from my first hand experience between myself and seeing what my sisters have done, there are certainly some, psychic abilities I would say that run in our family.
I feel like definitely in some ways I do possess some of the same capabilities as her.
And again, here's 16-year-old Juliet.
A lot of my life, though, I felt, I don't know why, but almost scared to fully dive into it and see if I fully relate to it in the same way she does. I do feel like I can connect in some of the same ways that she does. Maybe not exactly, but I do feel a connection in the same way. One of the biggest concepts that my mom teaches is that you don't need her to connect with the people that you've lost. She is an interpreter of the situation that is provided with her. She connects to this love between two people and she transmits the concepts of it. In a situation like me where I've lost somebody very close to me in my life, and I have had the ability to receive such just this inundation of signs and love from the situation of having somebody cross. Like I've just asked for the most abstract signs. And in the beginning, it was very scary because I was like, this is the situation that's going to test everything I believe in if I actually trust in these signs. And they came through. And just within the first month of crossing, it was absolutely incredulous how many signs I'd received, how many signs I'd asked for, and just over and over again been able to have this understanding that the person that I love that has crossed is still there and still wanting to communicate.
What are you able to share what the signs were, or is that too
Mhm.
personal?
So, back in the beginning, right when my friend had crossed, I was asking very specifically for very, very small, little tiny origami animals. And I specifically had wanted it to be little origami cranes and animals like that. And so it was within the first week of her crossing, my mother had gotten a package in the mail and she said, Juliet, come down here. I just feel like I need to give this to you. And it was by this little brand. My mom didn't know that. I didn't tell anybody about the sign at all. But they ship out little tiny paper cranes with every single purchase. And it's about the size of a penny. And she told me, she's like, I don't know why I feel that I need to give this to you, but I do. And she hands it to me. And I just start like, I'm like, this was one of my signs. And then there was another situation in which someone I'm very close, one of my loved ones, he is very talented at making origami animals. And I had just met him pretty recently after this. And just out of the blue one day, he comes and he gives me this little origami paper crane too, and is like, I don't know why I feel like you need to have this. So I feel like a lot of it just comes from these connections with other people. And within the week that my friend had crossed, I was asking also very specifically for it had to be paper purple butterflies. And there was a day where there was a presentation in class that I just couldn't sit through. So I go out on a walk to avoid it. So I just go in the hallways. And on the floor, crumpled up, I find this beautiful little purple paper butterfly just sitting right in the walkway. I've just received so many signs over time that I've asked for, and they've just made their way to me. And I think it's so beautiful.
And how does that make you like I mean, has this formulated all your views on like faith and afterlife and like the world
Hmm.
religions and is there one true religion? You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
like where do you fall on that stuff having been such an intimate part of the other side your whole life?
For me, I think the experience of losing somebody so close to me and then getting to delve into my interactions with it and within getting these signs really solidified my belief that there is this language of love that connects us all. And what I think it comes down to is that at the very core of every religious value comes back to this concept of love and being connected and having this ability to speak when we're gone, whether it be being here now and being able to speak with some sort of God or anything that somebody feels. It all comes down to the same concept of love. And for me, I I do practice Christian beliefs, but the way I see it is I don't see it as any different than somebody who practices Islamic beliefs or Jewish beliefs or any other sort of theological beliefs. It all just I feel like we all come back to the same concept of love, and what we try to interact with at the end of the day is feeling the world around us when we're gone and how we can discuss it with each other.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Are there any memorable moments from watching your mom do these sort of like, the I forgot what they're called, like the kind of parlor readings or
Like
the
the
large
galleries?
yeah, the galleries
Yes,
where
I
you're
have a
like,
lot.
"What?" I mean, I remember seeing your mom do one once, and it was so unbelievable that I, like, could have fallen on my chair.
I go with her to almost all of her gallery readings. Whenever she goes out to do workshops or gallery readings, I end up becoming an assistant, and the biggest takeaway that I get from it is the profound sense of love I feel in the room whenever she's doing gallery readings. It creates this profoundness of the intangibility of it where I could never be skeptical of it after witnessing all that she does. I sit in the very back and I just watch it from the outside, and a lot of the time I'm just like, wow. I remember there was this one very specific time where there was a quadrant. I think it was about 4 people, and I think their children have all crossed or something like that, and they all had very similar names too. And I remember just watching her bounce out names, and it was just like, "Oh, I know that one. I know that one. It relates to me. It relates to me." And she had brought up this concept of somebody that had crossed due to a driving incident, and the fact that it was I don't know how to explain this, but it was I think the parents had been holding on to a lot of anger from the person who had hit their child and caused this crossing, and it's amazing to watch her connect to these deep-rooted pains that it seems nothing can get through to. Like, in that situation, she brought up the idea that it was being transmitted to her, that it was an accident, and the one who had crossed understands what happened and could forgive it, and that they should be able to forgive and move forward and have just this understanding of love towards not only the child who had crossed, but also this profound sense of love for the person who had caused the accident. And I think just the thing I watch as she does these readings, and she picks up on these obscure, just these crazy concepts that even the parents themselves have forgotten, or anybody who's lost somebody important to them. And she brings them back to the people and makes them understand that everything is still there and nothing has been lost. And that a lot of the people who come to this have this profound sense that their child is gone and they don't have a way to connect to them anymore.
I asked Ashley, who also attends her mom's gallery readings, about how these readings have informed or changed her worldview.
Watching your mom, how would you describe the impact that's had on other people's lives? Like, what are some of the reactions you've seen? And I guess how does that impact you and your view of not just these abilities, but also your mom's gifts?
It's only further, like, cemented more than already is, like, my belief in it. And it's really cool to be able to see her do that and the way it helps other people because like I've seen her do that before and people's reaction to it. And while it's almost like being like you are a third party watcher to the situation because the people she's connecting to on the other side, like I don't know them and I don't know the people that she's doing the reading for like personally, but they get very like affected. A lot of them get emotional and cry, but in a good way. It's like information they want to hear that's reassuring and information that they're like, there's no way anyone could have known this. It was something very specific or a inside joke or and it seems very healing for people to have that experience, and it's something really nice to see and watch.
Laura's kids acknowledge that though there are skeptics, the belief in mediumship has become more widely accepted.
I wonder too, because I was terrified to talk to most people about the telepathy tapes when I was working on it
Right.
because I was just like, oh, their eyes are gonna gloss over and they're gonna think that I've lost it. But then when I started talking about it, I found that it would bring up deep connections with people that I would have never had a
Yep.
connection with at all because they were very willing then to start sharing more real parts of themselves, right?
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's the kind of thing like it's not something people bring up on a generally on a day-to-day basis, but once they know it's something that you're interested in or it's a topic you raise, then you're right.
Here's Garrett again.
It opens up kind of a floodgate and you start to hear all these stories and people's experiences. And it's incredible. And truthfully, I've always said this since the beginning. It's like, I don't blame people for questioning this, for wondering if it's real. I think those are completely normal things to think about. I mean, if I hadn't experienced the world of what Laura does in a direct way myself, I don't know that I'd believe it. You know what I mean? It's really the kind of thing you have to experience for yourself in one way or the other, whether it's through talking with somebody who's had a personal reading and information comes out that there's just absolutely no possible way that anybody else could know. There are experiences that happen on kind of the fringes of our society that you don't encounter on a day-to-day basis, but just because they're rare or uncommon, that doesn't mean they aren't real. And once you start talking to other people, like you said, you realize these are universal things. These are things that are average people are experiencing.
Yeah.
It's important.
Laura's family calls out that love is the current running through her gift. It starts there and returns there. Nothing dark or ominous, only a profound connection. And anything centered around love makes me want to lean in even further because love and truth seem to be good friends.
I think it's led me to just really accept the existence of death is just a natural part of life. It's just like a cycle, I feel.
Here's Hayden and Ashley.
It's very comforting and it's like everybody's still connected and energy still goes on. It's not something to be like stressed or scared about.
That does bring me a lot of comfort, I feel, knowing that I'm not just going to disappear once my physical body dies. But I think also the way in which my mom's able to receive messages from those who have crossed show that even those who have crossed do influence our lives every day and do watch over us. And there is this divine force in everything in the universe and in this world. I think it's led me to just really accept the existence of death is just a natural part of life. It's just like a cycle, I feel.
Is very integrated into my life.
Here's Juliet again, Laura's youngest.
In the same situations of loss within my friends, when they've lost somebody important or the same person that I've lost, I've I've felt very blessed in being able to share these ideas of signs that the people that you lose are never actually gone. They're still there. It's all about your ability to connect with them in the language of love. And I think the biggest thing I want people to understand is that there is nothing to be afraid of. I understand where skeptics come from when they say that this can't be real, that it must all be orchestrated, because to believe in some of the things, you have to change what you understand about this paradigm and about this materialism that we exist in. And understanding that in a lot of ways, the intangibility we feel in this world affects us so much more profoundly than the tangibility we feel in materialistic things and instances such as any sort of materialistic existence that we have. And if we can understand what it feels to love, if we can understand what it feels to feel the need to cry, to understand our emotions and the intangibility that unites us in friendship, in love, in camaraderie. I don't see how it would be any different for understanding this language of love, because it's the same type of connection we feel to each other, just in a different way. It's to the people who have crossed over, it's to those who are never actually gone, but it is the same profoundness that you can feel interacting with these situations as you can interacting with someone you love. And to understand that you need to approach situations not from fear, but from love, I feel profoundly in my own life that has blown any idea of skepticism out of the water, because it is just as real as any other situation or feeling you can understand.
Join us next week for episode 3 of the Telepathy Tapes Season 2, where we continue to unfold the mysteries and the magic of consciousness. And just a quick personal note, I think episode 3 might be my favorite of the entire season.